Welcome to the Profitable Husband Podcast, where we explore the untold stories of men building empires with their partners. My name's Willow Kai. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Profitable Husband Podcast, you guys. Today, I'm going to be talking about something very special. Now, most men feel like they support their wives, but today I'm going to put you on to how I have actually added more than $1 million of revenue into my wife's business and have supported her every step of the way. And by the end of this episode, I'm going to give you the framework and a couple of actionable items so that you can take what I've done and immediately implement it into your business, into your wife's business, or into something that you guys are going to start together. Now, little backstory. My wife and I have been together for 13 years, and we actually started dating in high school, which means that we've had lots of different levels of supporting each other, whether that is working a job, selling things that maybe you shouldn't even be selling, and then going into business, me taking on jobs to support her while she learned new skills like the skill of web design, and how we've been able to pivot all of these things throughout the entire journey, but no matter what, bringing it to full circle, now how I add literally hundreds of thousands of dollars into the business every month with investments, funnels, advertising, and all of the pieces that I have done. So sit back, get ready, we're about to jump in. I am going to first start us off at the very beginning when we were in high school, and Becca and I essentially figured out that we had something very special and was probably going to take a long time to start building, but we knew that we were going to build something together. And then we started trying to support each other in various ways. We started living together when we were 16 years old, which is honestly crazy now that I think about it now, but we were drinking all the time. I actually got a fake ID, which was one of my side hustles when I was 15 years old, started going to bars and started going to literally between 2 and 5 liquor stores every week, selling bottles to people, even Becca, which is actually super funny. She still gives me shit that I would literally still charge her like $5 extra and make a tip, but it was in the end all there to support her. So we're doing all of that. We both get restaurant jobs and we start living together, having bills, having cars, all of this very, very young. But we had an emotional commitment to each other that we were going to support each other no matter how that looked. At the time, Becca was being sent pounds of weed in the mail, selling them to me. I was selling them to people all over the city, and it literally was like, okay, perfect. This is how we're going to make it. But we definitely did know that we wanted something way, way better for ourselves. So we did what any sane person would do and bought a one-way ticket to Central America, packed a backpack, and decided to throw ourselves on chicken buses to literally find ourselves. We get to Central America, and it is way crazier than we expect. We're in Honduras. We're in Tegucigalpa, the murder capital of the world. And the reality of supporting my wife turns into just supporting her safety. But we meet a guy on this trip that essentially changed our entire life. He was working remote as a web developer. And this is in 2014. So this is far before the rush of online jobs, the rush of virtual assisting, and all of these online skills was at play. So we were like, holy shit, this guy is sitting in a hammock, working on his laptop and making money, where we were still in that cycle of working a job, whether it was at a restaurant or something seasonal, saving up as much as we could, then spending it all on the trip and coming back with nothing. Literally before each trip, Becca would sell her car for like $500 to $2,000. And that was the bulk of the funds that she was bringing. On that trip, though, we both committed to each other that we were going to support each other in finding online jobs. So Becca went all in on learning how to become a virtual assistant and immediately got a job. She then, while being a virtual assistant, started to learn the skill of web design. And we saw this as a huge opportunity because the first person that reached out wanting a website was willing to pay $1,200. And at the time, that was about the equivalent of a 2-week paycheck for either one of us. And the idea that she could work from home and get paid $1,200 just to create a website on her laptop, honestly, like it literally blew our minds. And that was literally day one. Now she charges $9,000 to $15,000 for a website, and she creates it in 7 days and has clients lined up in her inbox, in her email, in her DMs every single day, literally throwing themselves at paying that just for a website. But at that time, this $1,200 client felt like the world of opportunity was opening up. So I got a job so that I could support us and all of our bills while she learned this skill. At the time, I got a job doing social media strategy and business development for a marketing agency that was also a remote job. And because of that, I got to start working. We were living in a little apartment, so we were working in the living room together. And I got to start seeing how I could help Becca essentially make more money with the skills that she was learning. She learned how to throw herself into learning web design, taught herself every step of the way. And I was able to support us for that first maybe 6 to 8 month period where she was making like $1,200 a month, $2,000 a month. Not enough to live, but I knew how much power she had. So then she starts to get a little bit more booked out, and she thinks of the idea, I'm starting to turn people away, because at that time her prices went from like $1,200 to $3,200 to $4,500 up to like $8,000 for a custom site. And at that time, she started to have to turn people away. She was really getting involved in like personal development work, mindset work, because at that time, everything around us was changing. More so for her at that time, to be 100% honest. But I got an agency job so that I could pay all of our bills, all of our car, our apartment, everything like that, so that she could dive into learning the skill that we knew next season, next year would take us out of that apartment and into the world of entrepreneurship. So we keep on going. 6 months, 9 months later, Becca launches Bold and Boho, which, for you guys that don't know, is a website template shop selling Show It website templates for between $297 and $497 a pop. And this was our introduction to passive income. I remember it like it was yesterday. We actually we house sat for my uncle in the Bay Area for about 6 weeks. And it was a really nice house, way nicer than our apartment. And Becca decided, I'm going to launch a website template shop selling digital products to all these people that can't afford my $8,000 service. We start doing it, she launches, and I quickly realize that I could help sell these templates. And if I could sell 5 templates a month, if I could sell 9 templates a month, I was making more just from selling these digital products than I was at the agency. At the agency, I was making about $4,000 a month, working for $25 an hour. So Bold and Boho's firing off. She's at probably like 8 to 10K a month, but I knew that we could take this way bigger. So I actually remember this one specific trip. We brought my little brother and sister, who had just graduated high school, back down to southern Mexico, where Becca and I learned these skills. I wanted to show them what was possible. I wanted to show them where we had learned, like that essentially we were going to take our entire life to this new place. We were going to start traveling. And at that time, we were committing to a life that looked so different than everyone else around us. So I was like, Alder, Madrona, my little siblings, come to Mexico with us. Let's throw your ass into the thick of it and let me show you guys what's possible. While we're down there, internet sucks. And I'm like, Becca, let's get a co-working pass. It's $20 a day, which at that time was like, all right, you're making an investment. You're taking a risk on yourself. But we would go to these co-working places. Becca would be working and I would be in the DMs starting to sell. Literally until I sold the 4 or 5 templates a day, I would not stop. I was DMing everyone under the sun as Becca. And I quickly learned that I could be essentially a sales machine inside of her brand that no one knew about, and that could help close sales, especially for product, and to start building affiliate relationships and partnerships with other coaches in the space that all had clients that needed websites that Becca could then fulfill. So then Bold and Boho's crushing. We get it to about $20,000 a month. And at that time, we were like 21 years old. So life started to look a lot better, to be 100% honest. So then that time we really start to get competitive with each other, because at that time we had been together for 5-6 years and we were like, all right, we're ready to turn shit up. So I decide that I'm going to launch a coaching business, taking all of the skills that I had learned at this marketing agency, really trying to infuse this big brand thinking for these small online businesses, specifically helping small e-commerce stores doing less than, let's say, $2 million a year on Shopify, and online coaches, because I had watched online coaches struggle to be on this hamster wheel of continuously needing to put out content, continuously needing to put out call to actions. And I found a secret strategy that I could help them literally book themselves out just using Pinterest. Pinterest was a tool that I used very heavily doing social media strategy for these e-commerce brands. And I realized literally a crazy light bulb moment that I could help coaches and designers go onto Pinterest and make a boatload of money. So I launch a business. I very quickly get that business to 10K a month because I needed to start making money like Becca, right? But then I realized that we could really, really pick it up a notch. And right as this is happening, the pandemic starts. And for most, the pandemic was this crazy time. Everyone's dying, everyone's getting sick. But for some, us included, it was the time that our entire careers took off because of a couple of key things. One, realizing that everyone is so addicted to their phone and is going to start being on their phone literally for hours a day. And if you were a social media influencer, you are a brand that people like to watch, and you could get them to want to watch you, you could quite literally put any thought in front of somebody and you could make them want it. And if you have a solution to whatever their problem is, you can very, very quickly scale a business. So Becca and I are super competitive, and we start scaling, and we set a race. Who can get to 100K a month first? And if you know Becca or I on a personal level, you know that we both take competitions really seriously. So we start hustling. And going from 10K a month to 100K a month is a really big jump. I throw myself into coaching. I'm coaching literally. Would have like 3 90-minute intensives a day, 2 coaching calls. The next day I have 5 coaching calls. Next day, 7 coaching calls. Then I get an idea and I'm like literally sitting on the toilet and I'm like, damn, I should launch a group coaching program. Put it on my story, $20,000 closed that day. And it felt like it was a gold rush. We were posting these cringy videos and both of us go viral on TikTok talking about our business. And this is crazy because at that time, hardly anyone was pushing business stuff on TikTok, but we saw a huge opportunity. So Becca and I create accounts and they literally go viral. And within 10 days, we each had 10,000 followers and we're both closing deals from this TikTok. I literally remember putting out a freebie. It was actually like a piece of shit freebie, I'll be 100% honest, of like a beginner's guide to learning Pinterest marketing. And I posted a video with this super cheesy Instagram filter, like scrolling down the freebie page, posted it on TikTok with the title of "This Pinterest strategy got my client 28,000 followers last month. Tap in to learn how for free," or like something like that. And I got 6,700 downloads that day, 6,700 opt-ins in one day from an organic TikTok video. Like that, business was on fire. So we're like, all right, let's get it going. This is like, feels like we're really picking up. 35K a month, 40K a month, 60K a month. And then I'm like, Becca, I'm scaling what feels like really quickly doing coaching. What if you offered a coaching program? So I talked her into launching a coaching program. Turns out that it actually wasn't really her thing, but I loved supporting her through it because she was like, okay, perfect. It's going to be 5K each. It's going to be called the Untamed Creative. And I'll probably take on 8 clients. So I'm like, all right, go on Instagram Live and sell it. And she's like, wait, I don't think that people are going to jump on it like that. We get in the car. We're driving somewhere, like literally to go out to dinner or something. She goes on an Instagram Live and sells out all 8 spots on a live in literally 45 minutes. $40,000 comes into the account for an 8-week coaching program. And the cool part, little side note on this, almost every single one of those 8 designers that came in that Becca literally taught how to do the skill of web design, this is before all of the courses, almost every single one of them now has a 6-figure business, which I think is the coolest thing to see, that coaching really can work. Like it can change someone's life. These were girls that were coming in making like $15 an hour as like a receptionist or a barista. And Becca teaches them how to do web design, teaches them how to build a brand, teaches them how to pick a niche. And then all of a sudden they're making like 6 figures doing this, working remote. It was insane. So then we decide to take a risk on ourselves, move out of our hometown and move to Los Angeles. And with this move, we were like all in our mindset shit. We were ready to grow. And with that, we knew that we had to take a risk on ourselves and get a really nice house. So like any kid, pretty much kid that finds a way to make money, you're like, damn, I want a 5-bedroom house right in LA that looks at the Hollywood sign. Let's take on a rent bill that's more than like almost everyone we know makes in a month. We're just going to spend it on rent and we're going to know that it's going to come back tenfold. And it turns out that it did, because we get to LA and we are racing to this 100K month and we hit it the same month. And at that point, I was like, holy shit. Yes, was really burnt out from all the coaching. Becca at that time was scaling like crazy, doing website in a days for coaches all around the world. She found this little hotspot of these very like sexual business coaches that were located in Bali, Dubai, Australia, Texas, all over the world that were very high ticket coaches and were able to book Becca's website in a day, literally as an impulse purchase. And she got really good at creating content. And I was like, Becca, it's time to find a little bit more support in the world of design. So then Becca hires a junior designer, starts cranking out 12 to 15 website in a days a month, sometimes even having a website in a day on the same week that there's also a website in a week going, working on multiple projects, juggling clients, but Becca being the face and the founder of it all. At that time, I'm coaching clients left and right, lots of which want to be a designer. They want to be a web designer. They want to launch a business. They want to pick a niche. They want to build a brand and all of that. I realized very early on that building the brand, teaching somebody how to get clients, teaching them how to even get high ticket clients, that's the easy part. The hard part at that time was actually learning how to be a web designer, learning the skill of design, learning how to put together a website so that it actually converts for the client. So I have my first $1 million idea. It's called the Show It Site Canvas Library. And I had an idea. I remember walking into the kitchen. I had just gotten off 3 back-to-back coaching calls that were all web designers that were transitioning from being a social media manager or a virtual assistant into web design to try and up their income. I walk into the kitchen and I'm like, Becca, I have this fucking crazy idea. We should make a library of all of your designs that you've done over the past year or two, all of those website in a days, and we should make it into a product that my clients can buy and then they can just do it all on their own. And there was also a piece right there where Show It designers were starting to scale. At that point, we had like 2,000 designers in Wealthy Web Designer. So the world of Show It designers was changing rapidly. But I realized that a lot of designers were starting to be asked to customize another designer's template. And it became a question mark of who gets the credit on the footer, because the template designer built that website. But then another designer customized it, made it different, maybe made it really different, but who is fairly getting the credit at the bottom? Technically speaking, it's the template designer. Technically speaking, probably in the terms, you taking their credit off is probably illegal. So, light bulb moment, what if we created something that was different than that? What if we created something that all of my clients, all of our students could actually use, never have to give us credit? And what if they could turn these templates into website templates that then they could sell on their own for passive income? This was my first $1 million idea in Becca's business. So we launched the library, and it's a fucking hit. Now, to this day, it is the secret weapon that almost all of our students have in their back pocket that their clients don't know about, and it allows them to scale so much quicker. It's actually crazy, and it really birthed the idea of what phase 2 of supporting my wife was going to look like. Because then we started to have funds, and where there's profit, there is so much potential. So if you're listening to this and you're like, okay, great story, but how do I take this in? Let me put you on to what I do now. Now, we have a full-on business. We have 5 full-time people. We have a team of about 10 contractors, and there's a lot to manage in that. But I want to allow Becca to continue being the face of the brand, the creative, the designer, the copywriter at times. She is the visionary. But I now come in and I run our ads, I run our funnels, I manage our investments, I manage our finances, and I manage our tax strategy. Because if you and your wife can build a business, the last thing that you want to be doing is sending off all that hard-earned money to Uncle Sam relatively for like no fucking reason, in my opinion. So I really focus on allowing Becca to be profitable, allowing my strategies and focus to bring her profitability up as high as we possibly can. And then also I focus on holding on to the funds, to the revenue as much as we possibly can. So I got very familiar with running through a P&L at the end of every month, trying to bring our cost of goods down, trying to keep our advertising costs down, trying to bring our team costs down, and ultimately bring our bottom line up. So we are now building Becca Luna Education into the kind of core of a portfolio company. And if you're not familiar with a portfolio company, it is essentially a holding company that you have various entities, Wealthy Web Designer for us being one. And then as you build that, you get to start to realize that while you're building your business, you're also building an entire community of people that need a lot more than your business offers. So for us, I'm thinking about web designers, and they all need help with their taxes. They all need help with their bookkeeping. They all need help with copywriting. They all need help with lead generation. All of these things that are just quick little vertical integrations that can come in and can be even just partnerships with other businesses and can add to the profitability of her business in whatever industry you're in. So now I support her. I support our team. I support essentially any way that I can. And what I feel like is really important here is that your support can go in such different directions. But what you ultimately want to do is let her grow as big as she possibly can be, whether that's media appearances, getting her booked on podcasts, getting her booked in magazines, getting her booked on billboards. All of that is one idea, but maybe she doesn't want that. Maybe you can be her back end sales machine where you can take the strategies that I've done. Literally, one, this is crazy, but I have actually cloned Becca's voice. So I use AI. I run all of these voice notes. Essentially, every voice note that Becca puts into Slack that she puts to a team member, to me, I upload into a platform called 11 Labs. So I have a clone of Becca on 11 Labs that I am able to literally pick up my phone, be like, hey, it's Becca. I love your design style. How long have you been doing this for? I actually have a crazy discount on a program or an offer I'm running right now. Let me know if you're interested. Something like that. I can talk into my voice or I can type it in and it comes out as Becca. And it is fucking crazy spot on. And this is like new 2025 strategy where I'm able to close people. I'm able to have a team close people in DMs, all of this shit. But even back in the day when I was on that trip in Tulum, I would have Becca record a voice memo of, hey, I love what you're doing. How long have you been coaching? And I would have that on my laptop and I would hold my phone up and I would literally just start messaging all of these coaches with that voice note, and anyone who would reply, I would just start closing through a conversation. First is a voice note, they respond, and then you just take the whole conversation on text and you can close people like that. Literally today, you could get into your wife's DMs and you could start closing people today. Now, the second piece is supporting her literally with everything you have. Even if that means you needing to do the personal growth, the personal development, the mindset work, the healing, the trauma resolution, all of this shit so that you can support her. Because if you dim her spark, it's something that she will never forgive you for. And ultimately, even bigger than that, it's something that you will never forgive yourself for. Because if she gets that spark, that entrepreneurial spark, it is your job to take that into the biggest light, the biggest flame that it can possibly be. And that might look like taking over some chores in the house. That might look like starting to take over watching the kids so that your wife can work. It might look like starting to learn how to do these like little skills like closing people in DMs or building out a back-end like operation system. I bet you if you're listening to this, whether you're a man, you're a woman, you have a husband, you have a wife, whatever, and you're thinking, okay, what do I have that can be of help to her? You have so much. Like, I'm being 100% serious. You have business acumen. If you've worked in brands, if you've worked in businesses, if you've worked super hard long weeks, you have skills that you can bring into her business and help her profit more. It's what I've been able to do. And while it might sound like there's all this strategy and all these skills, these are the things that have worked, but there have been so many things that didn't. It's all trial and error. And right now, if you're listening to this, the biggest tip is to just take messy action and just try. Like, even if you have a 9-to-5 right now, your wife is having to work, she has a 9-to-5, but she's trying to build a web design business or she's trying to build a coaching business. When you guys are in bed at night watching TV, you got some bullshit reality TV show on or something going on, open up her phone, go on Instagram, and literally just try and close a deal for her. Whatever she's offering, go in her inbox, and I bet you there will be people ready, waiting for you to sell. Now, if you've done that and you're trying to figure out what else is there, I want you to think about how you can be an operational and sales machine in her back pocket that her clients don't need to know about. If you don't want to, you don't need to build your own brand. You can just make hers more profitable. And my last tip, especially with how I've been able to really take things up a notch, is with digital products. Your wife, your husband, whoever has the business, probably has documents, assets, resources that are sitting on their computer right now that are worth millions of dollars. I'm being 100% serious with you. And think like a marketer. Package whatever these resources are and sell them to people. And quick little plug, if you want help doing that, send me a DM on Instagram, because it's what I eat, sleep, and breathe. Creating digital products, taking them to market, and taking them to scale. Now, if you want to do any of this, you want my help, I want to be there for you guys every single step of the way. And if you've gotten this far, I want to end it on a very positive note. That if you've gotten this far, I want to say that I am incredibly proud of you. Whether you are a man, whether you are a woman, whether you are sending this to your husband, whether you guys are listening to it together, I am proud of you guys for being here and being open to growing. Because growing as a man in your relationship, in your business, it isn't always comfortable, but it is so worth it. If you've enjoyed this episode, if you are going to take these strategies, let me know in the comments what you're doing. And if it works, especially, let me know in a month or two what kind of results you're seeing. And I'll see you on the next side. That's it for today's episode of the Profitable Husband Podcast. If you're ready to step up, support your wife, and build real wealth together, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss what's next. For more strategies on business, marketing, and becoming the strongest leader in your household, follow me on Instagram at WillowKai. And if today's episode hit home, share it with another man who needs to hear this. We're building a movement one profitable husband at a time. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next episode.